For millions of ardent fans, cricket is akin to religion, and so too was this the case for young Amit Dul, whose lifelong dream was to play cricket for India.
I was an opening batsman. As a batsman, you fail more often than you succeed. Something that I didn't get when I was a teenager. So those failures and those tears on and off the ground played a big part in my growth.
He's gone for the throw, and there it is!
I remember growing up, I was a huge Brian Lara fan.
Sri Rajasekar.
It was all about idolising him, and I just wanted to play international cricket and raise my bat to 100,000 people and all that sort of stuff. And it was very much wanting cricket for the glitz and the glamour rather than actually the genuine love of playing the game. I think I genuinely love the game, but I still remember the first time I held a bat and my very first game, and I remember how it felt so natural. And I guess that kind of just started this path of wanting to make it in cricket. It was a huge thing for me. But I guess the challenge was that pretty much every time I stepped onto the cricket field, I was nervous as hell, I was paranoid, I was just, that fear of failure was just so prominent. But I wanted it for so many years, and I'd trained for so long. It was very taxing emotionally on me, and my life was basically about season after season after season, and that was kind of the way that I guess the timeline of my life had sort of ended up.
Both Amit and Sri's lives have intersected through a love of cricket, which has led them thus far on a path of helping others. They grew up worlds apart, Amit in North India, immersed in Hindu culture and religion, while in New Zealand, Sri shrugged off his cultural roots.
Growing up, one of the things my mum would always want me to do is sort of namaskar them to the gods, which is just going down and bowing to them. She'd always want us to do that. And I always just felt like she was just nagging, to be perfectly honest.
In a small room just off the Rajasekar family kitchen, Sri's mum Lalita starts her daily ritual. Surrounding her are miniature idols and gods, along with colourful lights and candles.
It is like a mantra. It is called shlokam. Shlokam means the first thing in the mornings you pray to God and say that there is everything goes very well today. I do it in the evening. Bhagataram tataram sarvasampatam lokam biramam Sri Ramam bhuyo bhuyo namamyaham.
I suppose your son, I don't know if you have other children who, if they don't adhere to the same spiritual practice as you, how does that make you feel?
Sometimes I feel a bit sad, but sometimes you can't help it, you see, because they grow in different sort of culture and environment. But as long as they believe in God, that's the thing I want, no? Tataram sarvasampatam lokam biramam Sri Ramam bhuyo bhuyo namamyaham artanam arti handaram pitanam pitinasanam.
Whilst this was a big part of growing up in terms of observing it, I went to an Anglican primary school, I went to Wellington College, Victoria University, and most of my life was surrounded by Europeans or Maoris, or I had friends who were Indian and Chinese, but even for them the religious side just wasn't big. I don't think I really even knew many people that were religious. Growing up with this, I just thought, oh yeah, whatever, I just sort of I very much did. Even when I was 12, I think I had a sort of a sacred thread ceremony over in India.
The sacred thread ceremony, for those of Brahmin caste, symbolises the coming of age for a young boy. Ritual begins in the early morning, running through until the afternoon, and required Sri to speak Tamil and recite mantra. Although he had little understanding of the significance of the event, he now has a greater appreciation of the benefit of ritual. Though he doesn't adhere to his family's spiritual practice, he believes that the fundamental values of Hinduism have been ingrained in his psyche.
It's about daily rituals to ultimately make you feel in somewhat of an enlightened state, and then, God or whoever it is that's sort of governing this universe will basically look after you.
born and brought up in India, going to temples at special occasions like your birthdays, following the key rituals, doing the morning and evening prayers. I never did any sort of chanting. I'm more sort of quiet sort of person when it comes to chanting. Usually go to a temple. One of the most important one for me has always been to put my mum and dad ahead of God, if you like. I always did that for some reason. And when it comes to praying, I pray to my mum and dad, even though I'm standing in the temple, asking for their blessings. And nowadays, praying for my dad's his soul's peace, if you like. He's not in this world anymore, so yeah. That's the way I interpreted the Hindu religion. That, hey, mum and dad, your parents, they have to give them the top priority. And they brought you to this world. And for me, my mum and dad, they obviously brought me to this world, but my dad saved my life as well when I was 5.
What happened?
I had a big accident and with internal bleeding. I was sitting on the top of a 4-wheel cart. I was going downhill and I was sitting on top of it with grain in it. Fell down and the cart went over my stomach. I used to be quite chubby, but after that I never sort of gained that sort of weight. At that time we were living in our native village. And everyone said, hey, look, he will be fine. Just give him some warm milk and he'll be sweet. But my dad said, no, let's take him to hospital. Took me to the hospital and I stayed there for 2 months.
So you've got basically a massive scar right across your torso?
Yeah, so I had a big operation. I wasn't allowed to eat anything. I had severe internal bleeding and they had to replace some funny organs within my stomach. My dad gave me 2 lives, in a way.
Being given another chance at life and then later seeing real poverty firsthand had an impact on Amit's perspective, which would later transform his life goals.
Mid-90s, when I was sort of going to Delhi to play cricket, nice and early morning, about 4 o'clock every Saturday morning, and there were children sleeping by the side of the road. That left a big mark on my psyche, not just intellectually but emotionally as well.
Even though you would have known about it?
Yes, but actually seeing it played a big part. Knowing that, hey, there are poor people out there is one thing, but actually experiencing it or seeing it, by your own eyes, that played a big part. Initially, I wanted to play cricket for India, but experiencing that changed that emotion. Rather than actually playing for India, I wanted to play cricket so that I can do the things that I want to do, i.e. providing education to those children. Probably one of the most important things that you can do is to provide education to children that aren't able to get education. That will change their lives. And that's something that I got out of that experience. And when my father passed away in 2008, that's when me and Sri started GST Trust, with a key objective to provide scholarships to children in India to go out and do their further studies, complete their degrees, and change their lives.
How do you go about selecting candidates?
We go to India. So far, over the last 2 years, we have selected 5 students, and it's all about asking them some key questions. Why do you want to study? Why should we help you? It's not about the best answer that they give, it's all about their authenticity. Initially, we only wanted to do it for 1 child, but we ended up giving 2 scholarships in year 1, 2012.
Sri, what does it mean for you to be, I suppose, providing opportunities for someone who isn't living in New Zealand, but because you're from here, providing those scholarships? What does that mean to you?
All of the stuff that we do is all about serving, helping others, and we are in such a privileged position here. I mean, it's unbelievable. Look around here, look all the gadgets and everything. I was so blessed to be brought up in this sort of a lifestyle. I've had experiences where I've, seen people on the streets. I remember quite vividly being on the beach in Madras, and they've got these little stalls on the beach, and they had a little one where they had all these balloons, and they had a little slug gun, and you just pay a couple of rupees or something, and you get to shoot the balloons. And I remember this little girl, and she must have been 4 or 5 years old, and she was actually helping her father there, and I just felt really, really sad, and it might have come a little bit judgmental on my part, thinking they're sort of having to do it tough or whatever. I ended up giving them a decent amount of cash for them that would have probably helped have food for the day or whatever. And then it sort of started this thought process of actually, well, I want to do more. How can we influence more? How can we help more? And I can speak genuinely here that for us, it's just giving unconditionally. And this is probably a very key point here, because I think a lot of people will go out and help people, but they do it actually wanting something back, or because it makes them feel better. But for us,
so it's not a guilt thing either, though, like a guilt about all the poverty in the world that you don't have any control over.
There's no guilt part to it. It's more to do with making a difference.
Making a difference has been imperative to Amit fulfilling his life purpose. Last year, he left behind an 11-year-long IT career to focus on what he would see as a life calling. Along with setting up JSD Trust, which supports not only projects in India but local charities, the pair have also established Presence, which offers life coaching and personal goal-setting programs with the primary goal of contributing to society and helping others.
It's interesting, I guess a lot of the guys that I see regularly, it ranges from helping them out in their relationships to helping them out in physical conditioning and nutrition, all the way to making sure that they're in an optimum mindset in order to perform to the best of their ability in cricket, or in their college studies and so forth. So it's just a wide range of things.
Do you notice that there are some issues that people have that kind of predominantly, focused around stress or...
Yes, stress is a big factor, yes. How do we get stress or depression? By continuously thinking about our own self and what we're not getting. The words that we use continuously to describe our feelings, the meaning that we give to different emotions. Same event or same emotion can trigger different sort of emotions for different people.
There's always patterns in physiology and language when it comes to people who are just depressed or stressed out or whatever, and then there are patterns for people who are happy. People who are happy tend to have better body language. They use better language as well, verbal language, their muscles, their breathing and everything. There's such a subtle shift between someone who's, or if you're in a state of uncertainty to a state of certainty. It's just a subtle shift, just the way you flex your chest out. And it really is just small little changes that need to be made. It's the 1%ers that over a period of time lead to healing, if you like. I think we just get into these patterns of behaviour, of language, of emotions that we continue to focus on over and over and over and over, that leads us into what they class as depression.
The power of positive thinking, is that something that is part of methodology that you use, or the concept that you
look? That's one of the key concepts, but that's not the only thing that we do. I mean, thinking positive, talking positive is one aspect of it.
How do you think that does? How do you think thinking positively can change a person in terms of their success at whatever they're doing?
As soon as we start thinking positive, our mind or subconscious mind, whichever way you want to say it, will start looking at different options to help you achieve what you want to achieve.
It opens up. I suppose if you're thinking negatively, it's like the doors close,
Correct.
Everything shuts down.
Yeah, it will open up different options for you and different ways to achieve the same thing.
Do you consider yourself a positive person? Is this something that you kind of try to carry with you?
Always. Nowadays.
So it hasn't always been that way?
No, especially when I was playing cricket, always used to feel, hey, look, I'm not good enough. And again, that boils down to some of the two key fears: fear of rejection, fear of failure.
Then if we have those fears that we necessarily create that failure as well?
Definitely. Imagine doing something from a place of fear. You will never be able to perform at whatever you're doing there.
Do you wish you could turn back time and, live those moments again?
No. That struggle, that played a big part in my own growth.
I remember Michael Jordan getting asked the same question years and years ago, and he said that he wouldn't change anything because if that thing had changed then he would have gone on a totally different path. A lot of us kind of look back and say, oh yeah, I wish this had happened then or whatever, I wish I knew then what I knew now. But it's not actually really fair to kind of say that, because your whole world would totally shift at that point, and you wouldn't, like, if we didn't go through all of some of our challenges or even some of these insecurities that we had with cricket, we would never be on this path around presence. We would never be around this path around JST Trust and serving others and so forth. And I definitely wouldn't be the men that we are now without those experiences. So I genuinely believe there is some sort of a divine force of some sort. I've probably had just too many experiences along the way to suggest otherwise. And I really do think that, a lot of the experiences that we've had have, like I said, some sort of higher forces controlling things. And so absolutely not. I'm grateful for all the experiences that I've had.
So you feel like you've been transformed by even developing presence?
Oh, big time. I mean, I think one of the key aspect to anything that we're doing at the moment is personal growth.
For yourselves, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think that plays a big part. Even when we're running sessions, I think we're learning.
I mean, I suppose you both seem like pretty confident people. Were you shy before this?
Oh, well, I'll tell you a story here. My uncle asked me to go to NIT, which is National Institute of Technology in India, to go and find out about the computer course. So I went there, and there were about 6 to 8 girls there, again asking for the course and stuff, what options are available for them. And I saw them, and I ran away. I came back home and I told my uncle, hey, this is what happened. He was like, really? Go back and find out about the course. I went back, and luckily for me, there were no girls there. So that's, yeah.
Were you afraid of the girls, or you just felt intimidated?
Just shyness. Being shy of speaking in front of girls, in front of other people.
But what would you say to that young Amit now if you were in that moment?
Just go out and live your life. No one really cares about what you're saying or what you're asking for. No one does. There's a saying, when we are 17 or 18, we think everyone is, hey, what is that person is doing? And then by the time we turn like 50 or 60, no one cares about you. So that's what I would say to that young Amit, that, hey, look, go out and live your life.
Although that's not what you'd say to a client, though. Well, if they were incredibly shy, you wouldn't say, look, buddy, no one gives a rat's.
Hey, to be frank, yeah, I would say that. Hey, look, no one really cares about that.
It's such a cool service to have. Growing up, if I had people like this in my life or whatever to sort of guide me and teach me some of the things that I guess that we've learnt along the way.
Okay, so what have we got here?
All right, what I got here, it's from Gita. जो हुआ अच्छा हुआ, जो हो रहा है वह भी अच्छा ही हो रहा है, जो होगा वह भी अच्छा ही होगा. Whatever happened in past, or whatever happening right now is for good. तुम्हारा क्या गया जो तुम रोते हो? You didn't bring anything to this life. तुम क्या लाए थे जो तुमने खो दिया? तुमने क्या पैदा किया था जो नष्ट हो गया? You achieved everything from here within this world, and you're going to leave it here. तुमने जो लिया यहीं से लिया, जो दिया यहीं पर दिया. Today it's yours, tomorrow it will be someone else's. जो आज तुम्हारा है कल किसी और का था, परसों किसी और का हो जाएगा. परिवर्तन संसार का नियम है. All that's happening here is transformation. Whatever is happening for a valid reason. We can't control the past, we cannot control the future. What we can control is what we're doing in the present moment. So that's another one of our key teachings, that what we're doing now is really, that's the only thing that matters here.
Is this one quite significant for you?
Well, yeah, it allows me to sort of not worry about things in a way. Live in presence, you do your bit, you keep moving forward.
All of these, I suppose, are up to interpretation, aren't they?
Correct, yes.
Depending on the person.
Yeah. So interpretation plays a big part. And whatever you're doing, it doesn't matter whether it's Hindu or any other religion or whatever you're reading. Look, where we want to take presence, our goal is to get to 10 countries in the next 5 years. Going out there running seminars, going out there contributing to others. That's our goal when it comes to presence. GST Trust, it's a big goal to help towards 1 million children's education.
1 million by when?
2017. It's pretty close, and we don't even know how it's going to happen.
Because you'd have, I don't know, help to fund entire schools, or?
Look, that's another one of our goals, to go ahead and open a school and just provide free education through there. To help 1 million children, it's all about providing them scholarships to go out and do their studies.
For me, anyway, this is really what presence is all about, is serving others and helping them live a life where they just come from a place of joy and love and compassion and empathy and all those other positive emotions, and the flow and effect from that, you just can't put a price on it.
And then therefore you also have to embody the philosophies yourself.
Correct.
Yeah, true. As Sri said, it's all about serving. And, if it was about money, I would have stayed in IT. I quit my 100K job to drive a cab so that I can have more time to concentrate on presence work or GST Trust work. If it wasn't for money, we wouldn't have done that.
If our motives were around money, then we will fail. If you're always focusing on money, you're focusing on a lack of what you don't have right now. Whereas, I like to just trust that I live in a world of abundance, and whatever's going to happen, as long as I feel my life purpose, the financial rewards will just take care of themselves. I've also seen too many times where, you get people who are wealthy as anything, but they're still miserable, because they just keep chasing and chasing and chasing and chasing the same thing over and over. And the money tends to be more of an ego thing, but it really means nothing in the end. A huge part for me anyway is just raising, human consciousness. True happiness comes from giving. I believe the secret to living is giving, and it's just, the more you help, the more you give to others unconditionally, the more fulfilled you generally just feel inside, and you're contributing to society. You're contributing to a raising of consciousness. Half the world's problems are all based around fear, of lack, of any sort of insecurity or greed. If I can make one small change in them, and then it just ripples along to hundreds, thousands of people elsewhere, then great. I think it's fantastic.
It's from Sri Bhagavad Gita. मनुष्य उसके विश्वास मनुष्य को बनाते हैं. A manusha, a human being, is made by the beliefs that he has. It's purely about serving, and we believe that if we add value to people's lives, everything else will be taken care of.